Yo, and we are live. Welcome to this live stream about the secret marketing tactics that Disney has used in The Mandalorian, the season finale specifically. These are things that kind of stuck out to me because they remind me of tactics I've seen used by startups in another industry, which I'm going to tell you about. So whether you are an entrepreneur or marketer who's trying to learn these like little tactics that not many people know about, or you're just curious about like why the Mandalorian's exploding, or maybe just you're like me and you like the Mandalorian and you're watching literally every video on YouTube about it, that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. And this is a live stream. So if you were here before, you maybe saw little malfunction. We've got everything set up now. Talk to me in the live chat. And yeah, welcome to my show. So the biggest thing that sticks out in this episode, besides Baby Yoda being so goddamn cute, is the Dark Saber. And, you know, as just kind of like an obsessive Star Wars enthusiast, I wanted to look up what it was. And what I noticed, this part was really crazy to me, is that the Dark Saber, it had a lot of top stories attached to it. And so that's what I started peeking into it. And that's what I want to really dive into here, because the fact that Time Magazine and Forbes both had like articles that came out like literally at the same time as the episode should tell you something. Articles don't write themselves in 10 minutes. So that means that someone at Star Wars planted what they wanted kind of the news coverage to be. And the other thing to think about here is, one, there have been many lightsabers before, and two, there's so many like cool things that happen in The Mandalorian. The fact that the lightsaber is getting a lot of media around it should tell you something. First, kind of interesting that it's a marketable item, right? And second of all, this just isn't something that is normally covered by Forbes or Time Magazine. So we're going to dive into that, and you're going to see exactly what Disney has been up to. Safe to say they have a very good PR team. So this first article here from Forbes magazine, it says, "A dark lightsaber? Yes, the Mandalorian just revealed the famed Dark Saber." Now, this title alone is pretty revealing because who do you think wrote the famed Dark Saber? Disney, maybe? Yeah, Disney. And so what you can kind of see happening here is that Disney, first of all, this is more conjecture on my part, but Disney may have written this entire article. They may have written all of these articles. That's a pretty common thing happening right now, is like, especially with Forbes, like you can pay someone $2,000 at Forbes to publish an article, and guess what? You get to write it. So word to the wise, like that's definitely a marketing strategy you should think about before it's stopped. I don't know how long it's going to be before the government or probably the government puts a stop to that one in particular, but it's just kind of something to be aware of, because it's almost unethical in a way what's happening, but here we are. And there are lots of unethical things happening in the world right now anyway, so we can just add this to the list. Gonna turn down the music a little bit here. So what you need to realize is that Disney probably wrote this title just to start, and they probably wrote this entire article. And also just the speed at which it came out. They wanted it in Forbes. What you have to realize is that major corporations like Disney have direct ties to Forbes, and they have people who, for instance, people in Disney's marketing department, there are people there who used to work for Forbes, have those not only relationships, but friendships. people invite each other out for drinks. When I was running my first company in New York City, Coinsetter, I would go out to drinks with people from every major publication, including the one that sticks out to me most right now is the Financial Times, which is one of the major business publications in the UK. And, I would just be like shooting the shit with the writer there who would invite me out for drinks, pay for all of it. So it kind of actually depended on the situation. Sometimes I would pay, sometimes he would pay, but these friendships are formed. And what that does is it allows you to, you might be able to get to a point where your name's just getting out there, but B, and again, this is very common in Forbes in particular, is you might actually be able to just write the entire article. And so just be aware that that's happening, and that's how the media is shaped right now. And if you kind of are aware of that, then that puts you ahead of most, at least in terms of knowing how society and government is, how it works. So, and again, it only takes $2,000 to get there. So now we're going to real quick move on to Time Magazine. This is another one that is, you might expect the Mandalorian phenomenon to be covered there, given that the Mandalorian is the greatest gift that the heavens have ever given to man since our creation. So, it's, definitely the Mandalorian's going to be all over the news. It's probably going to make it into the history books. But Time Magazine covering the Dark Saber is a little strange. And it kind of proves the point here that Disney made a conscious decision to push the Dark Saber for two reasons in particular. First, it's a marketable item. So we're going to be seeing all sorts of toys being sold in the public. That's going to happen. And you heard it here first. So when you start seeing the Dark Saber toys being sold in kids stores, make sure that you hit me back with this exact clip, just because, this is like such an obvious thing. Second is they need to create, they need to pick different things for people to get obsessed about. And I think that this is actually where most TV shows go wrong right now, is they don't actually spend any time thinking about like, how are we going to get some of our fans into like the nitty gritty details of our show? And so they start talking about that, really leading the public conversation that people are going to have. And the Dark Saber is what they've decided to use here. And so this conversation about the Dark Saber, how did Sidian get the Dark Saber? Gideon, I think I always want to call him a Sith Lord. I don't know why. I actually looked up if he was a Sith Lord, and he's not. But he is part of the Imperial powers. So, and by the way, like if you start looking at Dark Saber, what you're going to find is like there was a book called The Dark Saber, and then it's made a couple of appearances in the Star Wars lore, never in the actual Star Wars series. And so the writers decided to pick the Dark Saber as kind of like, something we're going to bring into it. And then the marketing people were like, okay, cool. And we can sell a lot of these too. So we're going to really push this out in the media. So anyway, there you have it. That's how the Dark Saber works. And, I just want to kind of emphasize the fact that I saw this particular strategy with really going to the extent of paying people to have articles written for you and you getting to write them very, very prominently in the tech community. And so this isn't a video about whether that is good or bad. I'll let you be the judge of it. I think that it's bad, mostly because people are, it's not honest media anymore. The media today is completely pay to play. Hence why you can pay Forbes $2,000 to get an article that you wrote put in it. And that's kind of what the internet's done to media. So, I'm not here to really talk about like the fact that, Well, I actually do think that we should talk about like how do we change this. And I mean, the first thing is people are going to have to start paying for their news. And so if that ever happens, like I think that there's a price cap there, because I used to pay for the Wall Street Journal when I could get it for like $10 a year on a student deal. But now that they, without telling me, by the way, they raised it to, I think, just under $30 a month, I stopped paying because I was like, okay, the Wall Street Journal has worse quality news than ever. I don't know if you have been following, but they've just been doing these trash pieces on mostly billionaires, which, you know, it's like, that's also clickbaity news. It's really coming from the same place as here. So can this be changed? Yes. Will it be changed someday? It might take political powers, although I'm not confident that our current government would do anything but make it worse, kind of create more incumbents, if you know what I mean, just like they do in every other industry. But in the end, as an entrepreneur or someone who is interested in marketing tactics today, and again, if you're just watching this because you're interested in The Mandalorian 2, let me know in the comments, what was your favorite episode? But yeah, if you're an entrepreneur, like what you actually need to be doing is be very opportunistic and know how things are working today. Take advantage of those, and if they change tomorrow, like fight for the future you want. Start thinking about how do you want the media to be. There are companies working on a more honest media, but as it stands, you can pay $2,000 to get your article published pretty much anywhere, and that's why, like, when you see you know, different news websites on a company's website, oh, we've been featured in so and so, you know, maybe they earned it. TechCrunch is pretty good about that. But if you see Forbes, Huffington Post, Time Magazine, apparently, there's a very good chance that someone paid to have that article placed there. And so if you're running a company and you need to get those logos, that's something you can possibly do. You might not even need to, though. You can also always just start by reaching out to reporters. But if you hire a PR person and they're of the caliber of kind of like working with some gray hat methods, that's what you can kind of expect. And it's highly effective. So yeah, if you like The Mandalorian, please give this video a huge like. Let me know in the comments what your favorite episode was. If you found these concepts interesting, let me know what other things if you first of all just like me to start talking about like little marketing strategies that I see major corporations using. I can do that too. And make sure you subscribe. Oh, thanks for the like, by the way. And one thing I can tell you is, in the new year, so first of all, happy holidays if you're watching this before the holidays in the live stream. Second of all, make sure that you really start paying attention to like these little, just start questioning like why anything's in the media. That's going to be really helpful. And in the new year, I'm going to keep covering videos because I'm honestly getting a little bored of just talking about like random business stuff and marketing tactics. So I'm going to start talking about like things I'm actually seeing in real life, just like this. And it won't always be Mandalorian, but maybe sometimes whenever it's Mandalorian season, for sure. I've watched most videos like 5 times already. And yeah, if you think it's the greatest show ever, then I love you. And even if you don't, I still love you, but just a little less. So I think that's going to be it for today. This is the end of this live stream, but make sure you share this video. Help get the word out. Let me know what time you would like me to be live streaming. Today I'm trying out noon. Usually I'm going to be trying out like probably more around 4:20 is what I've been doing. I'm about like 2 times a week. I'm interviewing entrepreneurs. So these are people who have recently raised capital in the last 2 years, usually around like $10 million, depends on the company. So a lot of money. And we're just talking to the entrepreneurs, getting their insights, seeing what the market's like, talking about life. And last episode, which we'll link to below, I was just talking to an entrepreneur about his yoga practice, and I started getting into like what pure consciousness is. So yeah, we're still talking about that on the channel too. Anyway, thank you so